So, how's everyone enjoying 12.7? Oh, me too. Hey, here's a quick secret. I stream every single day on twitch.tv/Onepeg. I start around 9 a.m. Eastern and go until, I don't know, when I want to quit. Like 5 to 10 hours every day, usually. So come check it out. I'll probably thank you if you do, and I promise I won't bite unless you ask me to, in which case I'm going to need you to pay me. But that conversation probably should be had not on YouTube. In the meantime, though, if you feel like subscribing to the channel and possibly even liking the video that you're watching right now, if you enjoy the content, that would really, really be awesome, because if it's one thing that I absolutely love, it's being recommended to and then answering comments on the internet from complete strangers. The strength and endurance systems from Tarkov for 12.7 got revamped. Kinda. And BSG added 2 new skills for us to level: surgery and aim drills. So this guide's going to go into how each level and how to level each one of these as quickly as possible, including all of the testing data. So for the super impatient goldfish level attention spans in the room, here's your TLDR. Oh, and I want to give a huge thank you to LemmingRuss, Spence, StrangeDefusing, and Revious for all of their help with this. I would not have been able to complete all of this without you guys. Thank you so, so much. You guys are awesome. And to everyone else in the community that also offered to help, I promise I will ask for your assistance in the future. Thank you so much for giving of your time and being so generous. Endurance and strength are physical skills, so you want to have a filter running in the hideout if you have that unlocked. Surgery and aim drills are practical skills. They don't have any way to add an item to augment this thing temporarily, so sorry. Level 1 strength to level whatever strength, walk and run at 90% weight. For endurance, maxing over time, you want to be at 2 stacks of fatigue and then sprint off your endurance bars as much as you like. But after the first kilometer, you're not going to get bonus XP anymore. So, I would say 2 kilometers or less and then rinse and repeat. For aim drills, you want to shoot and hit something immediately after aiming. Surgery, use surgical kits. Super tough, right? Okay. Now that those impatient losers are gone, we can get down to business. Here's how the general XP systems in Tarkov work. At the beginning, you have 129% progression speed. At the beginning of the raid, that's how fast skills will progress, which is denoted on the bar by a blue arrow, until a first threshold that is unique to each skill is reached. Once that's reached, the arrow goes away, and that is 100% progression speed for XP, and that will stay until you get to the next threshold. This is where the diminishing return kicks in. Once that threshold is reached, the skill gets a 50% penalty in leveling of the XP, which is denoted by a red arrow. If you leave it alone, you stop touching it, stop playing with it, for 3 minutes, the penalty will be lessened to 25%. If you leave it alone longer, 16 minutes, it will go back to the 100%, but you won't ever get back to that bonus XP level of generation. But if you level the skill past that return to 100% stage, it goes back down to the 50% penalty right away. So it's not really worth pursuing after you get to the red arrow, okay? So for the purpose of this guide, we're going to focus on that bonus XP area and then kind of math this out moving forward into the normal XP and then red arrow territory. First up is the easy one, surgery. The only way to level surgery right now in the game is with surgical kits. There are a couple of other skills that are going to be entered into the game at some point in the future, like first aid, for instance, but that stuff isn't in the game right now, so it's only surgical kits. And the only way to level the skill right now using a surgical kit is to do the repair of a blackened limb. And the reason why I say that is because the Serve 12 kit will repair bone breaks, but it doesn't provide any surgery XP progression at all. By repairing a bone break, that actually goes into stress resistance, not surgery. We went into an offline raid and broke our legs 12 times, used a full serve 12 kit, and the bar didn't move at all, so I can pretty much guarantee that you're not going to see any kind of surgery XP from repairing a broken bone with a serve 12, okay? All right. The CMS kit and the serve 12 both provide the same amount of experience per use. That is 2.1 points of XP for the first use, at which point you go into the full penalty of diminishing return. You hit the red arrow. So if you have the coin and desire to break your body over and over, the skill is still going to take a little while. As you level the skill, it will reduce the HP penalty that you receive from the usage of the kit, as well as it increases the speed of surgery. The elite level perk for this provides 0 HP loss when surgery is performed, and it increases your surgery speed to some maximum level, which we haven't yet been able to calculate. But the cool thing here is something like the CMS kit, because this is actually super, super huge for the CMS. At level 0 surgery skill, a CMS kit only returns 45 to 60% of an HP bar's maximum value when it's repaired. But the surgery takes 4 seconds less than a serve 12. The level 51 perk, providing a full HP bar when you repair that limb, ends up being crazily better than a serve 12 kit, because not only do you get whatever that percentage of bonus speed is, you also end up getting no HP penalty. So the CMS kit becomes head and shoulders better than the serve 12 because it's got a smaller footprint, etc., etc., etc. Keep that in mind when you're leveling the skill out. Plus, the CMS kit is a bit less expensive than the serve 12 anyway, so it's probably a little bit better for grinding. Second skill, aim drills. This one is a little interesting. The way this works is you have to ADS, fire, and hit an alive AI or player quickly. Okay? Through our testing, the time from ADS to hit has to be within 1.9 seconds. This is likely dependent on latency to the game servers, at the speed at which the server recognized the hit registration, blah, 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 blah. But this skill does have some interesting benefits, which makes it a little bit worthwhile to level. Much like how ergonomics helps with aiming speed, this skill also reduces the time it takes to ADS a weapon. In addition, it also gives a benefit to how much weapon sway you have when you're aiming. It's less. Combining this perk with recoil reduction and weapon mastery could make for some crazy laser guns once everything's maxed out. The elite perk for this provides for absolutely 0 handshake, regardless of the level of stamina that you currently possess at the time, for 2 seconds when you ADS. In addition, if you have a broken or blackened arm, it provides for a significant reduction in weapon shake when ADSing, again, for the first 2 seconds. So, could be an incredibly worthwhile perk to level up. The problem with this is that the XP for leveling this is a little bit odd, because the diminishing returns as they kick in, you start seeing like you don't really get that much. So the 129% benefit, that bonus, is for the first 10 shots. So that first 10 shots gives 0.14 points of XP for a total of 1.4 points. The next 10 shots gives 0.1 for a total of 1, right? So the base XP of this is you get 0.1 points per shot hit, as long as you ADS, fire, and hit a target within 1.9 seconds. The red arrow shows up after shot 20, so this one's going to take a while. So without diminishing returns, you're getting 2.4 points of that XP per raid, really. So this one, again, it's going to take a while. Next is endurance. For endurance, instead of it always leveling regardless of weight, as long as you're sprinting, now it only levels if you walk and or run when underweight. You have to be underweight or it does not count any points. Now, obviously, this threshold line moves slightly heavier for each level of strength you have. But suffice to say, you want your weight to be in the green or so range. So like under 40 kilograms, maybe 30, whatever it is, depending on how much strength you've got. Right? There has also been this added mechanic of fatigue that was introduced a few patches ago. Basically, the way you gain fatigue stacks is by repeatedly sprinting or walking heavy and keeping the stamina bar in that exhaustion or red zone of the bar. If you look at your character when doing this, you can see the fatigue stacks start to accumulate. It was mentioned that fatigue would influence the rate of the endurance XP point gain, but it wasn't mentioned as to how, so we tested it. So it turns out that the more fatigue stacks that you have, the faster your endurance levels, but the mechanic almost doesn't make any sense, and I'll explain why. At level 7 endurance, so nothing crazy, right? We're still pretty low. Sprinting off 1 bar of stamina without any stims or anything already puts us in the diminishing return zone for XP. We already hit the limit. The only way to get that kind of fatigue that we want for the purpose of augmenting the endurance XP was to run stamina into the red repeatedly. So the only way to get to fatigue stacks for the purpose of testing it was to load our PMC up with a ton of weight, run or walk that stamina bar off into the red, because now being overweight and sprinting doesn't affect or level endurance XP, stack up the fatigue stacks, drop all of the weight, wait for the endurance bar to refill, and then sprint it all off again, right? Big old process. So the method to maximize stamina gain is almost impractical, but for those of you that love a good min-max, the best way to do this would be to grab a backpack and put a couple empty fuel cans in it, to make you more heavy, and if you need to, put some weight in your secure container, and then do the aforementioned process of getting some fatigue stacks. But you don't have to get that many. The best endurance leveling over time was to push your character to 2 fatigue stacks, then drop your weight, and then sprint off the full endurance bar. After that, go and find something to kill you off, do a pistol run, whatever you want to do, loot run, etc. For XP over time, this generated 4.1 points of XP, and that should increase by a little bit if you gauge it by running off the endurance bar. Should generate slightly more over time because the stamina bar gets to be a little bit more every time that you gain a level. This, again, puts your character into diminishing returns on XP, so once you've hit it, obviously you've hit it. Now, the skill's rework no longer improves the stamina recovery speed of the gauge. Instead, this is traded off for simply having more stamina per level, a reduction in stamina loss when jumping, and an increase in the amount of time you can hold your breath when you ADS. The Elite perk gives 150% additional stamina than that of base, and when you run out your stamina gauge, your character no longer ends up breathing heavy. And lastly, we have Strength, the skill that everyone wants most. As part of the rework, this skill changed a bit. As you level the skill, aiming drains less stamina, you can jump higher, you can carry more weight, 97 kilograms at max, you hit harder with melee weapons, you move and sprint faster, and you throw further. At the Elite level, your weapon, chest armor, head, eyes, and face inventory slots are no longer counted toward your max weight, and you have a chance to deal an additional 50% critical melee damage. Now, when I do say chest armor, I want to be clear, I don't mean tack rig. The weight of the tack rig would still count even if it's an armored tack rig. It's just the chest armor slot, okay? This is slightly different from the old perk, but actually expands upon the benefits of it while toning down the power that the perk used to provide to people. To level strength, you can throw grenades, hit things with melee weapons, or walk while being at 65% of your weight limit or higher. Now, we've done a video on the fastest ways to level the skill already via the melee and throwing grenades methods, and all that information is still relevant, it's still the same. The part that's changed is the strength from walking part of the skill. BSG changed the weight system to where you gain an additional strength XP based on how much weight you have on your PMC. But there's a cutoff here for XP generated over time, and I'll explain what I mean. With the current system, moving while overweight has no hard and fast XP cutoff, but diminishing returns will reduce how much XP you can get while walking and running over that distance. So obviously, it's better to rinse and repeat once you hit the red arrow threshold, right? Right now, the first tar kilometer gives 129% XP. The second tar kilometer gives 100% XP, and every subsequent one after that gives 50%. So not worth it after 2K. But I'm going to show you why it's probably better just to work on the first 1K and then move on. So what we did is we simply broke this into a 200-meter stretch of walking distance, as the rate changes are the same regardless of weight. And the most XP that was earned was when the weight of our PMC was just below max over the distance traveled. So 10 grams or something below max weight. But it's very important to note that the distance traveled takes a heck of a long amount more time because you move at a snail's pace and have to stop to rest your endurance bar because it drains while you walk, right? Therefore, the best XP over time at 4 strength, which is what we had, was actually 90% weight capacity, not near max, not 99%. This is because the movement speed is about twice as fast at 90% weight, but still has a rather substantial XP benefit. So to compare to being lower weight, at 65% weight capacity, where the overweight status begins, the XP gain over that 200-meter distance was 1.4 points of XP, okay? 90% of max generated 2.5 points of XP over that same distance. It was almost double. But it stands to note that there is endurance drain when you're at 90% weight, but not when you're at 65%. So your movement speed, obviously, for that distance calculation is going to be a little bit faster at 65 versus 90. But the XP generation can't really be ignored in this case because it's so much more that it ends up outpacing the fact that you don't run out of stamina because it regenerates so fast that the XP is still much more worth it. The point here is get yourself to 90% weight and run or walk around a while before you leave or, I guess, die. So here's how you wrap all of this together. Grab a kit that makes you heavy. Get a backpack, put a couple of empty fuel cans in it, throw some weight into your gamma container, and grab a pistol. Go to Shoreline. Run around on Shoreline for a little while until you end up hitting whatever the threshold is for your diminishing returns on strength. Drop the backpack. Sprint around for an endurance bar or so with your pistol while you try and do a loot run on Shoreline. Go to a cliff, jump off the side of it, hop off the side of a building, whatever, blacken out your legs, use a surgical kit to repair one of them, and while you're at it, maybe try and headshot a scav with your pistol. Maximize on all of it, and then either get out or die. There you go. There's your raid. Okay? Now you just leveled all 4 of your things at once, and you got some stress resistance skill while you were at it if you felt like healing yourself. Magical, right? Anyway, guys, I want to thank you very much for watching this. Please consider hitting the like button, waffle stomp that bitch or whatever. And I will see you in the next one. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.